In today's video, I'm going to be walking you through how to create a newsletter in KVCORE. A couple of things I want you to keep in mind. One, there is more than one way to skin a potato. So, everything I'll be sharing with you is my way. There may be other ways. This is not the best way or the perfect way or the only way. So I hope you find value in this video and I hope you find it helpful to you. But I am well aware that there are other KV Core users that may be more skilled at this than I am. But you might not resonate with them, and maybe you resonate with me, my personality or my style or the way I explain things. So let's just jump right into today's content, creating a newsletter in KV Core. Money saving tip. You might be utilizing another platform such as MailChimp or Constant Contact, and no shade to either of those platforms. I'm a fan of both. I've used both and I like them, and they do what they need to do very well. However, I am not a fan of paying for things twice. We have the functionality within KV Core to create newsletters and schedule them and send them to our database. You can have a specific newsletter for each lead category or contact type. So, why pay an additional fee for one of those other services when you can do the same thing or very close to it within KV Core itself, which will also give you some other features that you may not have the ability to include in those other platforms. So, after you get your newsletter set up, you might want to think about canceling those extra services that you might have and save yourself a little bit of money. Maybe you can redirect that into your overall marketing budget or an ad campaign. So that's just food for thought. And without further ado, let's talk about creating that newsletter. Hello there. So the first thing you'll want to do is to log into your KV Core platform. So once you are logged in, you want to go to the marketing section. If you notice in KV Core, each category has the main category and then there may be a sub menu or subcategories. So for marketing, I like to start at the actual dashboard for the category. You could go directly to Smart Campaigns, or you can go to marketing, which I like to start here. So once you're at the marketing dashboard, you will go to Manage Campaigns. And let's pretend that you've never created a newsletter in KV Core and you're starting from scratch. I also will do a separate video on how to edit a newsletter that maybe you've already created or a template that is already within KV Core that you can modify and make your own. But for this video, we're just going to start from scratch. All right. So you want to make sure you go to the correct category. Quite often, I go to the wrong category within the section that I'm working in and I can't find what I'm looking for. And then 10 minutes later, I'll realize I'm in the wrong category. So, a couple of things you want to make sure. One, that you're under the right user. If you are an administrator or a managing broker and you have access to the company templates and settings as well as individual user templates and settings, you want to make sure you're in the right category. Are you creating a template for your office, or are you creating a template for your team or for yourself as an individual? So I'm going to select my name, Connie Ward, because I'm creating this template for myself. And I'm in the template category. So you want to make sure that you're there. And you're going to type in newsletter or whatever you name your newsletter if you're editing. But again, we're doing brand new. So we want to click over on the right, add template. And we're creating an email template. So we want to click email template. And if you see me looking this way and that way or straight ahead, I have monitors on both sides of me and I have my MacBook in front of me. So I might be looking in all different directions. So we have our template scope, which is yourself as the user. So you have another opportunity to correct it if you're in the wrong username, and your template name. So what do you want to call it? So let's just call this newsletter. And I'm going to name mine sample. And I'll show you once we get to the saved newsletters that I've already created, kind of the template name sequence that I use. So typically I put newsletter and then the date of that particular issue. So you can name them using whatever nomenclature or format you want to use. And we have our subject. So this could also be your newsletter title, or if you want every newsletter to have a different subject line, which I do recommend, you would enter that here. So I call my newsletter the weekly slice. If you know me, you know that I'm a baker and I love to bake cakes, and I give my cakes I give my clients cakes at closing, and I also give cakes as gifts and just special treats to my friends and family and colleagues. So, hence the name Weekly Slice. So, your weekly slice is the subject, and then whatever the main article in my newsletter is for that particular issue is kind of the subject to the subject line. So, for example, let's just say back to school tips is my main article in this particular issue. And the reason why I do it this way is because if you have like Connie Ward Realtor market update, and every single newsletter that you email out has that same exact subject, you may start getting put into spam, or people may just stop opening your newsletter because it's the same old, right? So you want to have a hook, right? Something that is going to grab their attention and make them want to open your newsletter. So for all of my contacts that are in my database, there may be a substantial percentage that are really, really, really interested in anything related to back to school. But if you've been getting my newsletter for a while, you know that every week I'll have a um, main article, and then there are some staple things that are always in every newsletter. And so you know that because you've been getting my newsletter. So you're going to click it, you're going to open it, and you're going to go to the section that either you've seen before or that you want more information about, because maybe you're ready now. So that's why I feel like it's important to be creative with your subjects, and you can have one component of it that stays the same, and then kind of like a sub header subject line that changes for every issue. So, what we also want to do is we want to click Advanced Editor. And the reason why we want to do this is because it gives us more features, right? And it gives us a template so that we can add the information in the sections that we want to add to our newsletter. If you are copying pasting from some other source or format, you could copy and paste that information here. So maybe you've created your newsletter somewhere else. Maybe it's a Word document, and you're going to just add an image, and you're going to have some text, and then you're going to have your footer or your contact information below. And that's relatively all of the information you're going to include, and maybe it changes every single time. You can copy and paste. I use a template, and I use the same template every single time. So I want to go to the advanced editor. And one thing that might happen, let me click no, is that it may erase my subject. So I'm going to copy this before I click this button. And so I want to say yes. Give it a second to load. Since I am sharing my screen, things may be a little slow, so there may be some lag time. Okay, so it kept my subject, which is great. Otherwise, I would just paste it in. And so now we have our template fields that we can add to our newsletter. So this section here, the content block, is where you need to begin. Every section essentially needs a content block. So what that means is, let's just say we're going to place an image at the top of our newsletter. So what we want to do is we need a content block to place that field into. So you just drag and drop. So now you see it turned that content block into an image block. So this is where I can now insert my image. So I'm going to browse my computer and find the image that I want to use. And since I've created newsletters and other things within KVCORE, I've uploaded some images to my KVCORE. And so the image that I may want to use could be already be in KVCORE. But for this purpose, let's pretend that the image that I want to use has not already been uploaded. You can see these are some of my other articles and the weekly snapshot, which is a market report that I include in some of my newsletters. So they're already here. If I go to this folder, you'll see that there are other files within this folder, these folders, I should say. So if I wanted to use this image, I would just click insert. But I want to upload an image from my documents. One thing you want to do is make sure that before you start your newsletter, you have all of your files organized in a way where you can find everything that you're going to need. So within my download files, my folder on my computer, I have a folder that I set up that I named. Let's see, let me find it. KVCORE. So if I start typing in KVCORE, it's going to pull up anything that has that word in the title. So I have a folder, KVCORE newsletter. So this is where I save the documents that I'm going to be using in my newsletter, so I'm not having to search all over my computer for documents, because I know you've probably been there too when you want to insert a file and you have 10,000 downloads and now you got to go searching for it. So keep your files and your folders organized. It will make your life easier. So the main image that I want to use is in this folder, and it's this image. Okay, so now I'm going to add that image to my KVCORE folder. And you see it's uploading that image. So we'll just give that a second to load. And once it loads, we're going to insert it into our newsletter. So as I stated, it may take a moment because these files tend to be larger files and I am sharing my screen. So I'm using a lot of my system resources. Alrighty, so our image has been uploaded. You can see it here, and I want to click insert. And now that image has been added to my newsletter. So I'm going to move this. Oh, sorry, I can't move my image. I'll just scroll down so you can see. All right, so I've inserted that image into my newsletter. Okay, and so now what we want to do, what other pieces of information do we want to include in our newsletter? So in order to add additional fields, maybe we want to enter some text. So we want to enter a row, and we have these options for the format of the row. So we want to have just one header in this next category. So what we're going to do, remember, we always need a content block before we can add anything to KVCORE. Before we can add additional content, we need to have a placeholder where we're going to place it, okay? Which is our content block. Remember that? So this is our content block. So we want to grab the format that we want and we want to drop it. That creates the content block where we're going to add the type of content we'll be including in this section. So let's just say we're putting text in this section. So now we have our content block and we want to add text. So now we're going to drag the text to the content block. Okay. So if I were to just drag text here, there's nowhere to put it. See, it only highlights the section where there is a content block. So I couldn't just drag this here and add it without adding the content block first. That might be a little bit of a tongue twister, but I hope that makes sense. So now that we have our content, we can type here whatever it is we want to include. So let's just say we're going to include feature listings. And we can format that text using these format settings. So I want it centered, I want it bold, maybe I want the font a little bit larger. So this gives you the ability to edit this right here inside of KVCORE. So maybe I want this text to be my brand color. So I'm going to change this header to green. And that's all I want to include in this section. So now the next step is to add whatever additional content that is going to be under this header. Okay, so now what we want to do is add our images or other content that we're going to have under this section. So I want to select row again, because remember, we need to insert our content field. And this time I want to select two content blocks that are the same size. So I'm going to drag and drop my content blocks. And so now what type of content am I putting in the blocks? I'm putting an image. So I want to drag image and I want to drag image. So now I'm going to browse for my image. And I'm going to use an image that I've uploaded previously. Excuse me. So let's just say this is one of my listings and I'm going to insert the image and you see it populates here. So now I'm going to insert my second image. Maybe I have two listings and I'm going to select the second property image. Let's see if I have another file that I can import. I'm just going to go ahead and grab this one. And just as a placeholder for example purposes. So I have my two listings and I may want to add a hyperlink that's going to take the user to the property listing, or I can enter my text, comments, or anything I want to say about this particular property. Maybe I want to provide the address or some additional information. But let's just say I want to include a URL link. So now what I'm going to do is go to my website. So go to your website and you're going to find your listing and copy that URL and paste it into KVCORE. So I'm going to go ahead and grab 529. Let's see. Let me just find a listing that I can use for example purposes. Okay. So we'll wait for that to load and I have my property listing and I'm going to copy that URL. Okay. So you can't see what I'm doing on the screen. However, what you're going to do is copy the URL. So just go to your website, pull up the property by the MLS number or whatever information that you have, and then you're going to copy that URL and paste it into KVCORE. So you can see I just pasted that link into KVCORE. Okay. And so now this image has a link. So it's going to open a web page. I can tell it to open a web page, send an email, make a call, send a text message. But what I want it to do is to open a web page. So now I'm just going to paste in the same link for this one, just for example purposes. So I have my links, and if I want to preview it to make sure my links work, I'll click preview up in the top left corner. So this is going to take me to a web preview of my newsletter. So we have our header image, we have our category for feature. I spelled featured wrong, but I can fix that. Featured listings. And if I click this property, it takes me to a website. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to stop sharing my screen here for just a moment so that I can show you exactly what this looks like when it happens. When I clicked the link, it took me to my website and it opened this window. So now the user can preview this property, they can look at this listing, they can save it, they can chat with me or you, they can request a showing, or they want to sign up for email alerts. So there are a variety of things that they can do from this page, because remember, this is taking them to your KVCORE website. So if they want to go back to the newsletter, it will be still open, or it will still be open in another tab in their browser window, or if they're on their phone, they may have to select the back button on their phone to take them to the previous screen, so that they can go back to the newsletter and read any other information that they want to read. So we're going to go back to our newsletter. So here we are back at our newsletter, and remember, we are in the preview, so we want to click it again to come out of preview mode, and we're back into editing mode. So now we can add whatever additional content we want to add to our newsletter. So I'll go through what is included in my newsletter to make this a little bit more useful as far as the structure. So in my newsletter, I always have my header image. I have my main article, which is typically directly below my main image. So I'm going to go ahead and remove these sections. So maybe I changed my mind. I don't like the way this looks. I don't want to include this in my newsletter. So now I'm going to delete this entire section. Okay, so we've removed those, and I know that I want to include my main article. So I need to insert a content block. So I need a row. So I'm going to drag my row. I have my content block, go back to content, and I want to insert the main article image file. So maybe your main article is text. So you would drag and drop a text field. Okay, so I want to select image, drag and drop. Now I'm going to browse. And so I have a marketing manager and a community engagement manager that works for me. And she creates the articles for my newsletter. However, prior to hiring her, I created the articles myself. Sometimes they were just a copy and paste of some information from another source. Just cite your source. If you're doing that, you don't want to plagiarize. But when she creates the article in Canva, she saves it as a PNG file, as an image file. So that's what these images are. These are the previous articles that she's included in the newsletter. So now let's just say this is the article I want to use. I'm going to insert this file into my newsletter. So now I have my article that I'm going to be including in the newsletter, and the subheader, remember, is normally the title of the main article. So your weekly slice, the email is going to come from me. So it'll say Connie Ward Realtor, your weekly slice, and then the name of the main article. So this main article is delicious drink recipes to to transition into fall. So that would actually be the subject, the second half of the subject line, so that, we're approaching fall and people are always looking for ideas for recipes, cocktails, because people are going to be entertaining, having parties. So that's why seasonally you want to map out your content so that you know what's going to be in your newsletter. So whether it's just a Google Doc, a Word doc, in your notes written down. You want to have a place where you're kind of keeping your content categories and what you want to talk about. So normally I think of it by month and season or a market trend. Is there something happening in the market that you want to talk about? Is there a recipe that you want to share, or is it a tip, a DIY, whatever it is, or if it's a holiday themed or seasonal theme article, that's what you want to map out in advance so you know what you're going to be including in your newsletter. So every time you sit down to do your newsletter, you're not like scratching your head, what am I going to talk about? So we already have that calendar mapped out every single week because we do these weekly. So you can do it weekly, you can do it bi-monthly, you can do it monthly, quarterly, however, whatever cadence you're using to send out your newsletter. I prefer weekly, and at this moment, I do not have a high unsubscribe rate. Uh, as a matter of fact, I think I've had one in probably the last 2 or 3 months. So people are not unsubscribing from my newsletter because it's too frequent. And if they unsubscribe, that's fine. Okay. So don't worry about people unsubscribing because that's just natural. That's going to happen. And you want a captive audience. You want the people who want to hear from you in your database. That doesn't mean you never reach out to that person ever in the history of ever. That just means that you're not reaching out to them regularly or on a weekly basis if they've unsubscribed. Maybe you call them 6 months from now. Or you have a re-engagement campaign where you're going to re-engage old leads, but you want to let them age out. You want to give them some breathing room and time and space, and then maybe reach back out to them at a later date. Okay, so I've got my article that I want to include, and that's it for this section. I'm finished with this section. So the next category that I have is a way for people, sellers in particular, to obtain their a home valuation or find out what their home is worth, right? How to build more wealth, assess their equity position, and things like that. And I'm also subscribed to Homebot. So I have a link that I will send them to my Homebot site so that they can sign up to receive monthly updates on their home value. So, what I'm going to do here is remember, we always need a content block. And so, I want to insert a content block and I want a divider. Okay, so I want some breathing room in between this and my next article. So, now I'm going to insert another content block underneath, and my content that I want to include is text. So I want to drag and drop in my text. And so I know that I also need a divider to completely separate this category. But in between there, I want a button. Okay, so I want another row. So we always need a content block. And I know I'm repeating myself, but I'm going to say this over and over because someone's going to miss it and you won't have to rewind this video because I will be repetitive. So we've got our content block and now we want a button. Okay, so we want to drag and drop into our content block and we want to close out this section. So we need another content block, and the content that we're including in this block is a divider. So this section is all nice and neat in this divided section. Okay, so I'm going to insert my header, build more wealth with your home, ... So this section of my newsletter, I never change. So there, yikes, undo. Okay, so this is one of the sections that I never change in my newsletter. So there are only a couple of sections that I change every week. One, the main article, and the weekly snapshot, and everything else essentially stays the same. So once you get your template set up, it's really easy and you don't have a lot of editing. So it can take literally 2 to 3 minutes for you to create your newsletter. So now our button design is here. Let's just edit this text first. So what we want to do is format this. So this is a header, right? So we want this to stand out. We want this to be bold so that, it's visible and it separates this category. And we can also change our font color. I'm going to keep this font color. So that's all I want to do is just make this a little bolder and larger. And if you wanted to change the color, you would just select your font color section and you can select one of your colors, custom colors that you've created. So these two colors are custom colors from my brand color palette that I've input into KVCORE. So if you click the little canvas here, like the almost looks like a palette, a paint palette. This is where you can either enter a color code. So if you have a color and you have the number, you paste it in here. 080037 is my green color. So you see I typed that number in and it created this green. So now I want to do save. So I won't do it here because I already have this green, but you can create a new color. You can type the number in or you can play with the color picker here. So that's how you would change the font color. And now I want to change the design of this button. And what do I want it to say? So I want the button to say, find out what your home is worth. Okay. So that's the text that I want on my button. And now I want to change the color. So if you scroll down over here, these are all of the content properties. Okay. For this content field. And what I want to change here is the background color. I want to change the background color to a color that I already have saved, okay? If you did not have the color saved, you can create a new color here as well. So I already have my color, so I'm going to select it here. And that's all I want to do as far as editing the design of the button. But I want to also add in a hyperlink so that this button actually takes them somewhere. So I'm going to quickly open my Homebot um, platform in my other window and grab that link. So you can't see this because I am on my other monitor, but either grab these and have them on a sheet of paper already ready to go so that you can easily um, copy and paste them, or just type it in and copy and paste it and go back to what you were doing, which is what I'm doing now. All right, so I'm going to my Homebot website. I'm going to log in so that I can grab the link that Homebot provides as a link for people to register for my Homebot site. So let's see. Let me just give this a couple seconds to load because it's moving really slow. I apologize. So one thing that I have to realize is that when you're streaming and sharing your screen sometimes on Zoom or other platforms, it can slow down your system. I have a lot going on. I'm asking my computer to multitask. Okay, so I'm in my Homebot account, and what I want to do is find my share link. Do 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 do. Okay. So it gives me a couple of options: home buyer leads, buyer leads, and get property search leads. So what I want to do is get homeowner leads, and I want to copy the link to that page. So I'm going to copy that, and now I'm going to paste it here. So there's my link. It's going to open in a separate window, and that's all I want to do to this section. This category is complete. So I want to test it out. So we always want to test to make sure that the links are doing what we want them to do. So I'm going to preview this. And you can also send yourself a test email as well. And I usually do that at the very end so that I can see what the recipients will see when they receive this email. And so you can see what I have so far. I have my header image, I have my main article, and then I have my home evaluation section. And I can look at this from a desktop view or a mobile view so that you'll see what it's going to look like on someone's mobile device. So this is great. So I'm going to click my find out what your home is worth button, and it's going to take me to a web page. So now you can see where the link took us. So we're here, build more wealth with your home, find out what your home is worth. So now they can type in their address. So once they start typing in their address, it should populate unless it's a relatively new street. And so I'm going to select this 529 Elmwood Pond. This is a listing that I sold earlier in the year, or property that I listed earlier in the year, I should say. And so once they enter in their address, and it's not going to take this long because hopefully they won't be streaming and sharing their screen. So now we can kind of see what the estimated property value is. They can see some free information here, and now they can enter in their email address to receive the full report. Now we're back at our KVCORE template, and we want to turn off the preview mode. So we go back into editing mode. So we're back into editing mode. Our link is working. And so we want to go to our next section. So the next section is where I insert my weekly snapshot. And so there are different ways that you can include market data content into your newsletter. And that's totally up to you how you want to include that, whether you want it to be a hyperlink to a page on your website, or if it's going to be a static image that just is basically a snapshot, or you can also insert a video, which is one thing that I'm going to be adding to my newsletter. Instead of providing something for people to read, I'm going to do similar to what I'm doing now, recording this video. I'm going to record myself giving the report almost like I'm a newscaster. I'm a journalist and I'm delivering the news. So it'll be me delivering. And I feel like that will have more impact than them just reading, because a lot of the acronyms and a lot of the things that we pay attention to as real estate professionals, consumers, they either don't understand it or it's just not the way they like to receive data. So I think we know that we're in a video world and video resonates. So doing a video probably would be more impactful than doing a snapshot. Unless you want to provide a lot of content for different areas, different zip codes, and you need it to be in a list format. So remember, again, we want to add our content block. So I'm going to insert my row. I'm going to insert an image. And now I want to browse for my image and include my weekly snapshot. So the weekly snapshot image, I create this in Canva. So the way that I create that content is, let's insert the image first. So we insert the image. So this is my weekly snapshot. Okay, done. So I create my weekly snapshot in Canva. What I do is I have a template that creates the pie chart, and then I link a Google spreadsheet to that Canva file. And I go to MLS. I get the numbers that I'm going to be including in the snapshot. So the number of properties that have had price reductions week over week, new listings, closed properties pending, and average days on market for my metro area. So I grab that from MLS, takes 5 seconds, go to MLS, grab it. I put that on the spreadsheet, and then I refresh the Canva file, and it will import the numbers and change the pie chart graph. That might sound complicated for some of you who just have never done it before, but I promise you it's super easy, and I will do a video on that explaining and showing you how to do that in Canva. But this is not a Canva tutorial. So once we've updated our information, we save that as a image file. So we save it as an image file, we put it in our folder, and then we upload that image to our newsletter. So every week, this information changes. Create the file in Canva, download the image, and import it into KVCORE. Probably total time takes 3 minutes, 5 minutes for us to do that. And so my marketing manager, she I import or upload the data, and she creates the file. So she's the one that makes sure everything lines up and it looks right and it's pretty and all of that, downloads the image and imports that image into the newsletter. Um, so you could have an arrangement like that if you have an assistant, or do it yourself, however you're compiling that information. So the next category we want to add is I include a place for users to view properties. And so in this instance, I have rows of threes because I have the main cities that I want categories for people to be able to search by. So the first thing I want to do is add a row, which is my content block. And I need to create another divider. So we have our content block here, and we want to add a divider. And then we're going to add another row. And this is going to be text. And then we want to add another row, which is going to be our second divider. Okay. So now for our block here, we're adding our divider, and we have our content, very similar to what we did above. So now this section is going to be search for homes in your area. And we want to center this. We want to change the font color, and we want to make it bold, and we want to make it bigger, whatever size you feel like you want that to be. Okay, so now we have our search for homes in your area category. The next thing we want to do is add our cities. So we want to add rows, but this time, depending upon how many columns you want and how many rows, you're going to select which template you want to use. And I want them all equal size, and I want 3 per row. So I'm going to drag and drop my content blocks to my template. Drag and drop my content blocks to my template. Drag and drop my content blocks to my template. So now I have 9 squares. Okay. So now I want to go back to my content, and you can set up all of your content blocks in advance and then edit each block afterwards. I like to do it as I go, but it doesn't matter. You can do all of your template formatting first and then add your content second. So now what I want to do is all of these are going to be buttons, okay? So we want to add a button to every block, okay? And once we add all our buttons, then we're going to format each button, excuse me, individually. So let's say the city is Charlotte. I'm in the greater Charlotte metro, and I want Charlotte. Another area that I serve is Huntersville. I have Lake Norman, Belmont, and these could be whatever cities you want it to be. You could also do it by zip code if you want zip codes. So, whatever the way to think about what you can add as a hyperlink is anything that you can generate a URL for and search for on your website. More than likely, you can have it as a hyperlink or as a button in your newsletter. So I want Albemarle, and last one, Concord. Okay, so I have my 9 cities that want people to be able to search by. Now, you can just include a one button and made this search for homes in your area a button, and when they click it, it takes them to the main search page of your website, so you're not separating it by category. Or you could actually turn this into a hyperlink that's going to take them there to give them multiple ways. They can search the entire MLS, or they can search by city. But once they get to your website, they can always search by any other search criteria that they choose. Just getting them there is the purpose of the newsletters, to get them from your newsletter to your website and looking at homes. So I want to edit the color of my buttons. So I'm using two of my brand colors for my button colors. So I'm going to go to background color, and I'm going to select the blue for this button. I'm using green. This button, we have blue. This button. So as you can see, the color format basically is blue on the outside and green in the middle. And you can do these all different colors of the rainbow, however, your brand colors, black, whatever color you want to use. So that is totally up to you. But you can see that this is all relatively simple to do. It's just a matter of knowing where to go for which feature. But our content properties are always going to be here on the right under the content category for the section that you're working in. So we've got all of our button colors set. And actually, this is not the correct green. So I know that's not my brand green. I don't know what green that is. Um, Oops, sorry. Now I forgot my color. What is my color? Let me just click this. No. There we go. Okay. So I had to look up my color number because I couldn't remember it. My mind went blank. All right. So here's the green that I use for my brand color. So now I've got that number typed in. So now I can select this color since it's saved. So here we go. Okay. So those are my colors. And so now I want to close out this section and add a content block. So I can add my second divider. So it keeps these all kind of neat versus it just flowing straight down on a white background. So you have like a break, a visual break. So now what I want to do is I have to go to my website and grab every single URL for each button. I'm not going to do that in this video, but I will show you one. So what we're going to do is I'm going to show you in my browser and go to my website and pull up that URL so that I can then copy and paste it. So stand by for just a second. Here we are. I have my browser open and I want to go to Connie Ward Incredible Realty Group or whatever your website, excuse me, domain is. As you can see, slowly loading my website. And so now you see here, I'm going to pretend like I'm searching for homes. So you see Charlotte. This is the Charlotte listing page. Type in Charlotte and search. And so now this is the URL that I want to copy and paste into KVCORE. So I'm going to go to the city that I'm looking for, copy that URL. I'm going to go back to KVCORE and paste it in. So let's just say now I got Charlotte, I copied and paste it into KVCORE, and now I want to search for another city. So one of my other cities is Huntersville. And I'm going to click Huntersville, search, and it's going to take me to the Huntersville page. So I can then copy and paste this URL into KVCORE. All right, so here we go. I've got my URL. I'm pasting it into KVCORE. And let's just say I did this 8 more times and I've got all my cities in. So the beauty of this is I never have to change this again unless something breaks or something goes haywire with my website or I change websites or something like that. I should never have to change this again unless I want to include a different city or remove a city. So once it's set, you set it and forget it. So we want to preview what that looks like. So we click our preview button. Oh, you know what? My internet isn't this horrible. I forgot. I am using my cell phone hotspot because my internet is down. It's a long story that I won't get into, but I am using my cell phone hotspot to record this video, which is a bad idea. Okay, so now you can see we have our main image, we have our main article, the home valuation category, our weekly snapshot, and now we have our area where people can search for homes. So this one, as you can see, is turning into the little hand with the finger pointer so that I can click this button and it'll take me to my website to search for homes in Charlotte. I didn't set up the other URL, so you can see nothing's happening when I hover over. But if I click on Charlotte, what will happen is it will take me to my website. So let's go ahead and take a look at that now. So here we are. We're on my website, and these are all of the active listings in Charlotte. So they can click on a number on the map. So maybe they're looking in the northern corridor and they want to look at these homes over here, or maybe they want to actually look at the list grid on this side. They can browse properties from here. They can change the view to a list or a grid format, or they can go to the search menu themselves and search by an MLS number, an address, a city, or whatever other criteria they want to put here. So we see that our link is working. So now we can go back to our template and finish things up. All right, guys, so we're almost done. We're coming down the home stretch. So we want to turn off our preview again so we can go back into edit mode. And now the other final sections that I have in my newsletter are a couple of areas where I have text, call to actions, and I have a YouTube video as well as a ad that displays my homebuyer class and a registration button and a button to schedule a call with me. So since we are familiar now and we know what we're doing, I'm going to go through these last few steps relatively quickly. And this will also give you an idea of how quickly this can go. So I know that I want to add another section, right? Under this divider, I need to add my content block. I need to add another content block. And I know I need 3, okay? So this content block is going to include text. This content block is going to be another divider. This content block, actually, this isn't the block that I want to use. So I want to delete this because I need a different size block. So I want to go back to my rows and I want this one because I'm going to have text on the left and a video on the right. So I want to grab this size content block, go to content, and I'm going to insert text. and then I'm going to insert a video here. Okay. So for this category, this section, this is a call to action. Contact us now for home tours. Okay. Okay. Alrighty. So we can format our text here again. So we want to bold, we want it to be centered, and we want our text to be a certain color. Let's see. We want a dark blue, and we want to increase this font a little. Okay. All right. So actually, that's too big. So we want to take it down. Let's try 16. There we go. So we have our call to action. Okay. And now we're going to include our text. And so let's just say you already know what your text is. You've got it on a Google Doc or somewhere, and you're going to copy and paste. So we're going to copy and paste our text. Okay. So now we want to add our video. So we can insert a YouTube URL. So if you have a YouTube channel, you would just go to YouTube, go to your channel. If you don't, create one, and we can do a video on that too. But for this purpose, since I already have a YouTube channel, and this is a great place to store videos, even if you are not going to release them to the public, right? If you just want it to be a hidden video where you can provide a direct link or include a link into a document or a newsletter that you can only access by clicking the link, you can do that. So I want to go to my YouTube channel and find my video and click the share button and then copy the URL. So I have YouTube open on my monitor over there. I pulled up my page. I grabbed the URL link for that video. Okay. And it will populate your thumbnail for the video. So just give it a second for it to find the video and create that thumbnail for you based upon the thumbnail that's already associated with your YouTube video. So my video is here. I'm not going to make any more edits or changes to the content properties for this block. I like it just the way it is. So I'm going to keep it just like this. Okay. Yep. I don't know what I did to put my text over there. So let me fix this really quickly. Okay. So I'm going to go back to my content, add my text box here, and paste it in. Alrighty. So here is our video and our text. So now what we want to do is we want to grab our next category. One thing that I will show you though is how to adjust the size of your video thumbnail. So if you are in your rows or if you're in the content, what you want to do is click the settings option. And this content area width, you can drag this bar to make your content width larger or smaller. So let's just say you don't like how that last line is dropping below the bottom of your video. You can make those adjustments here so that it lines it up a little better and makes your thumbnail a little larger. So that's what that would look like. And I like that a little better than having that last line a little bit below the bottom of my thumbnail. So now what we want to do is add our next category. And again, this section is a section that I don't change. This same video has been in every newsletter since I started doing these newsletters. So if you ever want to change this out, it'll be relatively easy. You would just go to your text, copy and paste in your new text, type in your text or whatever you're going to do, and then add in the link for your new video and it pops it right in. That would take you probably less than 3 minutes. All right, so let's keep going. We are really close to completing our newsletter. So what we want to do now is add our final categories. So once again, we need to add a row. We need to add another row because we're creating our dividers and categories. So this block is going to be a divider. This block is going to be text with a call to action. And then this block will be, a divider. Alrighty. I know that our section below this is going to be an image. So I'll go ahead and add that now. And then we're going to have one final section that will be a footer. So we'll go ahead and add that. And I believe that one's a text box, but I'll need to double check. So give me just 1 second and we will add in those final sections and we'll be all done. Alrighty. So bear with me for just a moment. And so I don't remember what my final 2 categories were. I remember what they were, but I don't remember the content. So I need to look it up so that I can copy and paste. Alrighty. And KVCORE doesn't really like it when you have multiple windows of editing open at the same time. It can get a little wonky and your information may not save. So it's really not a good idea to have multiple KVCORE windows where you're editing something open at the same time. Okay, so this section here is a call to action for people to register for my free monthly homebuyer class. So virtual homebuyer, homebuyer class. And once again, we want to format this text. We want to increase the font size and make it bold so it stands out. And then our second category has an image, or our second section has an image of the homebuyer class details. So I believe I already have that image uploaded to KVCORE. If I didn't, I would upload that file, add it to my KVCORE folder, and then insert it from there. However, I'm pretty certain I have this image already saved in here somewhere. So let's see. No, I don't. Oh, here it is right here. So this image here is the one that I want to add. So free homebuyer webinar every third Thursday. Here's the phone number, homebuyerclassnc.com. It also has a QR code that they could scan with their phone if they just so happen to be on a computer. And it will take them directly to the contact information for this particular registration page. So we have actually a divider is what I need under this image. So I need to add another row. So you see I can insert my divider above or below this last content block. So I want it above. And so I want to add the divider here. So once you get accustomed to dragging and dropping things where they go, it'll get a lot easier. And so I know I also want 2 buttons side by side the same size. So I want to select this row here and drag it underneath that header because I have 2 buttons before my next divider. So I want to insert a row here. My content, I want a divider underneath these 2 buttons. Drag it to this block. And so now I want to add a button here, and I want to add a button here. And once again, I want to format my buttons. So I want to highlight the text and register now for the first one. And then this one is going to be the schedule a call. Okay, so now I'm going to change the background color of the button. So I'll select this, I'll select my color, select this one. Actually, I want this color. Mm. And I need to copy and paste in a hyperlink so that the button has a place to go. So this is where we'll paste in our URL. So my URL is my website for my homebuyer class registration. So I'm just going to type that in, copy and paste. And the reason why you want to copy and paste it instead of typing it in, unless you have memorized whether it's HTTP or HTTPS, you want to copy and paste the exact URL because the link will not work. So it's better to just pull it up, copy it directly from your browser and paste it in unless you're certain of what it is. But of course you can test it, but it's just easier to do it that way. And then the schedule a call is my Calendly calendar. And so I'm going to type in my Calendly URL. So I'm just going to pull that up in my browser, click on this button, paste it in. And so now I have my 2 URLs where I want my buttons to go. All right. So the last section is my footer, which is text. So actually, no, this is not the last section. There's one more section after this, but I promise we're really close. So I have my top divider here, and I have my text field already here because I added it earlier. And so I'm going to paste in the text that goes here because I have it somewhere else. And so we have a great week. I look forward to continuing to serve you and your families, Connie. And then underneath that, I have my incredible realty group, creating paths, opening doors, and delivering keys. And so this is kind of my footer for my newsletter. So I just want to center that, make this a little bit larger. And the very last section that I'm going to add are hyperlinks to my social media pages. So this is relatively easy, but it requires a lot of copying and pasting. So we need a divider. So we want our content block. We want our divider. And now what we want to do is we want to add our final row underneath our last divider. And in this content block, what we want are icons. And so when we click on icons, actually, wait a minute. I think this might be the wrong thing. Hold on one second. Content. Oh, sorry. We don't want icons. If you have your own icons, or if you're going to do like reviews and put stars and that sort of thing, you could do that here, but we're going to delete this. My apologies. We'll delete that. And what we want is social. Drag and drop social, and it pre-fills in the icons. So if you click it, you can edit how they display. So you want them the color, you want them all gray, black and white, all blue. So you have some options for color and style, square or circle. So I like the standard icons for social media. And this is where you'll need to paste in your URLs for each of your social sites. So once again, it's best to go to your browser, copy and paste the URLs. If for some reason you don't have two monitors and you can't open it on another screen, you just open up a new tab in your window on your laptop or on your desktop, and then you just copy and paste each one at a time. And it will make these hyperlinks so that when you send out the newsletter, someone can click on the social media buttons and it'll take them to your social media page. Okay, so that's all you really need to do here. For each social media type you want to paste in. If you don't have all of these 4 social media accounts, you can delete. Just click delete and remove the that particular social media button. Okay, so we are all done. Woo! Give yourself a hand, pat yourself on the back, take a sip of whatever you got in your cup. And one very, very, very important thing I want to let you know. If for some reason your computer crashes, you get kicked off the internet, or something wonky happens while you're doing this, it can delete everything that you did. And if it takes you away from this screen before you click create or update or whatever this button says, this green button in the bottom left, you will lose everything that you have done. So it's a good practice to periodically save and go back, save and go back, save and go back, because it's not auto saving this content. Okay. So the worst possible thing that can happen is that you get to the very end, something goes haywire, and you have to start over from the beginning. So please, please, please don't endure that pain, because I've endured that pain of having spent all this time creating this and for it to be deleted. So after each section or a couple sections, you want to go ahead and save and update. So I'm going to go ahead and update the template now. Okay. And we'll give that a second to save. And if I weren't using my cell phone hotspot, this would be a lot faster as far as how long it takes. So see, once I click that button, it takes me back to my main screen. If you get this screen before you've clicked that button in the bottom left-hand corner, your heart is going to drop because all your stuff is going to be gone. Okay, so now we can see that my weekly newsletter example is here. I can clone this to create my next template, or I can edit this template. So let's just say you've created your newsletter template, you're finished, and now you want to go back and look at it and test it and send yourself test emails. What you would do is you would go to marketing, smart campaigns, templates. Make sure you're in the right user profile if you have multiple. And then you want to search by the name, newsletter, click search. So now this is going to pull up anything that has the word newsletter in the template name. Okay. So now here are all of my newsletters that I have saved. And so I want to go to the last one that I created. That's why it's important to create the template name, a unique name, and then your subject for your newsletter, a unique name. So you don't have to go clicking on each one to see which one is which. And the other thing is, if you want to save your previous newsletter that you sent out, you want to make sure that you clone it before you create the next newsletter. So as you can see, since I have my template now, I'm not going to ever have to create this from scratch again, unless of course I come up with a new design and I want to change things around. But I won't create a brand new template. I will just clone my existing template and then save it as a different name for that particular newsletter that you're going to be sending out. So let's go back to the newsletter that we just created. So we want to click edit. And it's going to pull up our newsletter. And you see we have our main image. We have our article that changes for each newsletter. We have our home valuation, which never changes. We have our weekly snapshot that we're changing. We have our categories for searching for homes that never changes. Then we have our call to action, and we have our video if we're including one that is going to change very infrequently. And then we have our call to action, and then we have whatever it is we're displaying here. If anything, your newsletter does not have to look like mine. You can put whatever content you want. If there's only one thing that you want to have in your newsletter and it's different every single issue, then that's fine. You just have a placeholder for the content and then you just plug it in. So I have my buttons, my register, my schedule, and then I have my footer and my social media icons. So once you've completed your newsletter, what you want to do is click preview. So it shows you a preview in the desktop layout as well as the mobile format so that you can see both from the user perspective and you can test your links to make sure they work and they go where you want them to go. Okay, so this is what it will look like on a cell phone, which most users will be viewing your newsletter from their phone. And then this is what it will look like from a desktop to a certain extent, aside from the like extra white space. Okay, so you want to test your links. If I click register now, we'll see what happens. So it opened up a new window on my browser that you cannot see because I'm not sharing that window with you, but my Homebuyer class website opened on my other tab. Okay, so I know that my links work. What I want to do is send myself a test email. So I'll go ahead and do that now. Okay, and you'll receive a notification in a pop-up window on your screen and it'll tell you that it's been sent. So you have confirmation that it's been sent. So I want to get out of preview mode. I haven't made any changes, so I don't really need to click update template, but there's one thing that I do want to add. So on my newsletter, I do have a subheader underneath my main image, and I want to add that here. Now, I don't remember if it's above or below, but let's just say it's below. So I'm going to click row and I'm going to add an extra content block. Okay. And what I want to put in this content block is an image. Okay. And so now I'm going to browse for my image. And I have kind of like my tagline subheader for my newsletter. And it's Cake and Real Estate, your what is it? Cake and real estate, all things from cake to real estate and everything in between. It's kind of like my motto. I use that for my YouTube channel and I say it periodically. And so I have that saved as an image and that is missing. So I just remembered that that piece is missing, but I believe um it's saved in my images. So let's just check real quick to see if it's here. This was created in Canva. Now, my marketing manager created this, so I didn't create a lot of these files myself. So I inserted that header here. Okay, so now this divider I don't want in that space. I want it above this section. So I just deleted it and now I'm going to add it back here. Okay, so we have Cake and Real Estate, your weekly slice. And if I wanted to make this bigger or smaller, I could. This particular image here, what I want to do is add, no, that's not where I want it. Top and bottom, nope, no. Okay, so I thought I had some extra padding in here that I wanted to remove, but apparently I don't. So now I really can't remember if this goes above or below. Let's see. I don't remember, guys. Okay, so let's just say it goes above, but I don't remember. So I'm going to delete this that I just did. And I'm going to send this to myself again. I didn't see the pop-up. No, let's see. Preview. I don't think you have to do preview to send yourself a test email, but I didn't see the pop-up that it sent it to me. So let's just do preview. Check it out one more time. And yes, now I've got 3 pop-ups. I guess it's just delayed. My connection is slow. Okay, so here we have it. This is our final. The final. Did I say it was a final? The final version. Okay, so let's just go through it one last time. We've got our header if we're going to have one. We've got our main image that never changes, our feature article that changes, our home valuations, which doesn't change, our weekly snapshot changes. This section for searching for homes doesn't change. The call to action doesn't change. This text in this video doesn't change, or maybe it does infrequently. Then we have our call to action for whatever we're putting here. If anything, for me, it's my home buyer class. They can register for the class, and they can also schedule an appointment with me that will take them to my Calendly calendar. Then I have kind of my salutation and then my social media icons. So we're going to update this template, and we are finished. All right, so how do you send this thing out? Okay, so I'm going to go over how you schedule and send out your newsletter in a separate video. That video will be short and sweet, and I will post the link to that video in the comments below. I hope you found this very helpful. I know that took quite some time, so thank you for hanging in there and watching this video. And I would love for you to share your newsletters with me. So once you've created your newsletter, if you want to email me your test email, email me at cw@conniewardrealtor.com. That's all for now, and I will see you in the next video. The next tutorial. I wish you much success. I'm getting tongue-tied now because I've been talking too long. I wish you much success, and please like this video and subscribe to my channel for more content like this. Bye for now.